then back then for the midfield and attack, I am thinking that Joe's going first.
That's easy, isn't it? We might as well put me first, and I'll do the easy one.
We're going to go right. We're going to go right midfield, right wing.
Matter. I'm still going to name him.
And any honourable mentions before you mention your right midfielder?
I've got to be honest. All my honourable mentions were in the back four and goalkeeper. I've got to be honest. I've got to leave in about 40. We won't be more than 45 minutes because we all know this next six
through this quickly. Yeah,
this next six will be.
This one normally flies. Yeah, this one normally flies through. It's normally the defence what normally takes a little bit, but no, we're done. We're definitely within the next 40 minutes. I think we'll be done.
Yeah, so, perfect. No, that's all right. And I think again, we've already mentioned a few of them, but I'll the reason I said you can start on the right or you start on the left, it doesn't actually matter because I know who's on both sides, and it should probably be the same in Ifes because it was such a pleasure to play with him and Reedy on either side. Different players, and for me that suited us so well because depending on who we were playing, it was kind of our first experience of having a team sheet. You remember Ifes from the scouting reports from Gritty, and it would be like, this is what they got, this is what they got. And to be fair, the 9 and 10 was near enough all the same. Big and full exit, 10's quick. But we've covered that bit. But I think when teams would have seen Reedy and Paul Ifill, I don't think they would have known what to put down because they could do everything. They could run past people, they could go inside, they could cross it, right foot, left foot. They were both actually centre forwards. And I think that was a brave move and a clever move from whoever it was that got them into wide positions. Obviously, being young and being quick, but as I say, right or left, depending on who we were playing, depending on what we felt we would get the best out of on those days. Reedy would drop into pockets and hit the most beautiful diagonal balls to Ifill. You know what I mean? Ifill would already know 2 passes before it came to Reedy that he was going to get it on a plate. I think we all talk about Cambridge for this guy because that he could do that every single day. And, the game is the way the game is. And we were growing up and he was in the spotlight much more than I was as a centre-back, much more than any boys were playing at left-back or right-back. He was under the spotlight, expected to take people on, expected to create penalties, expected to score goals, and was under a lot more pressure than me and kept turning up. And we had our dark days. I mean, he had darker days than me, but I'd like to think that the time we spent, on the training ground, smashing balls in and just having fun meant he kept turning up for the club because it wasn't all easy for both of them, for Reedy and for Ifes. And my parents sat next to them in the grandstand and, that was brutal. And I'll never hide from that fact. It was totally wrong, the kind of things that their families had to hear. But Ifill and Reedy just kept performing, and others, by the way, not just Ifes and Reedy, but they kept turning up. They kept getting better. Ifill would never shy away from the ball. The only time he'd shy away from the ball is if somebody had trod on his big toe. And if you'd ever seen his big toes, they are like something out of Tremors. They are the most grotesque thing. And until you've seen them, you will not understand why he hobbled around for so long in certain games because somebody had trod on one of them. And everyone would be like, what is wrong with it? And I'm like, I know full well what is going on. Somebody's trod on his toe. For me, Ifes and Reedy, it was an absolute privilege, an absolute honour to watch them go on too. Ifes with Sheffield United and Palace, playing in the Premier League, scoring brilliant goals, playing in Wellington. That banger you scored in Wellington, holy fuck, he nearly took the net off. It's just it fills you with so much pride. And Reedy, the one he scored at Wigan, fuck that. It was just so good for them to show. And you can't do it all the time. You can't. You're going to get it wrong and you're going to make, you should have done this, you should have done that. But thankfully, in their peak times, we've got video. We can see what they can do. And it was just a pleasure to be in the team with them.
Brilliant. So we're going to lock Paul Ifill on the right side, and I guess we're going to do left side as well. Are you happy to go with Reedy on the other side as well, then, Joe? Or?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
What you said.
My honourable mentions. I've only got 2. Are Gilksy, because I really like Gilksy. He came in and gave us something a little bit different. and he loved the chop. Like he kind of coached. Did he coach you boys with a chop?
Yeah.
I think the cutback. Am I going to do it? Cutback, and he loved that. And we got Gilksy in a bit of a twilight of his career, and I don't think he went down that well with a few. But I liked Gilksy, and I think he again tried to help the younger lads in those positions. And Christoph was just sensational on and off the pitch.
Yeah,
just rapid and skillful, and so there's probably a word for it, but so Belgian. Like none of us kind of had that personality. And he
made of chips and mayonnaise.
No, but he was cool. He was cool.
Absolutely, so cool, and didn't give a fuck about anyone.
And would and off the pitch, wasn't he, Paul?
Yeah, and would pull you to one side and go, George, what the fuck is this guy? What the fuck is this? And you'd be like, mate, you've only been here 5 minutes and you've already got it.
He was a character. He fit in really well in the dressing room? Do you think when he came in as a foreign player?
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
so we're going to lock that in. So Paul Ifill and Stephen Reid on the left-hand side, and obviously thanks to those honourable mentions, Joe, as well. We're going to go to you now. We might do both as well. So we're going to go for yourself on the right-hand side, if you're happy to do that. Lock yourself in there.
Well, you guys have told me that I've got to. But firstly, thanks for the kind.
Who would you pick?
Hey,
who would you pick though? If
honestly,
Lucas Neal.
Oh, he's got there. He's been waiting.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't help myself. It just came out my mouth like Tourette's. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll sack him now. Don't panic.
Look, going right back, just quickly. Thanks to Joe for the kind words. It's he mentioned something there that it's funny. You were talking about the stuff that I have to deal with in terms of racism, right? And stuff that your parents heard. And I actually broached this subject the other day, and somebody on Twitter absolutely caned me. A Millwall supporter caned me, said I was a disgrace and it never happened, and blah blah blah. And I just wanted to set the record straight that my mum is white. So my mum was at the games. I used to get hammered, not by lots by any stretch. It wasn't the whole lot, but I used to get hammered. And my mum, because she was white, they'd say it in front of her, not knowing that she was related. There was about 18 months where she didn't go to a home game. She couldn't go to a home game to watch me. So just wanted to put it out there that it was there, and it was difficult. But what I did like is that the club took steps, and still do, to try and eradicate it. And it's got better over the years, which is great. So just a quick mention on that the club are still doing great work on that.
Just and I agree with the good work the club does and all that. But I think to address the racism within football, and I don't want to go into all of it because it gets far too political. I think they need to look at society as a whole and not football as a whole, because society as a whole, this takes place in society. Football isn't just this little tiny pocket where it only happens in football. It happens in the wider world. And as soon as they look at it as a wider world and the FA actually decide that they want to do something about it, then it will slowly decease. But I think it's pretty much nowhere near what it was. I still think you might get the occasional, but I don't think it's nowhere near what it is. It's definitely at Millwall, because Millwall fans don't accept it. It's very much self-police now with Millwall fans. It's just unfortunate that the rest of the world don't actually believe that, and they still want to live on stereotypes from old. But I agree with you. The stuff what Millwall does towards it is second to none.
I must remember.
I think
Sorry, Joe, go on.
The other thing, it's slightly different, but it just came to my mind while you were talking about that. There are certain things that if Millwall as a club were involved, and I'm only on Twitter, I'm not on anything else, but certain things that, go on, like you say, in other places, and, the minute Millwall's name is linked to it, it's totally blown out of proportion. And I'm not saying that's anything to do with racism and what's right and wrong. We all know that, and so do the people that are there. But for me, I kind of feel like we get a bit of a harsh treatment as a whole, as a club, when it comes to certain things like the pitch invasions, and we've only got to get 5.
Everything's fighting, isn't it, Joe? Everything's fighting. No matter what we do, it's escalated. Times 10.
Reg Burr, mate. Millwall is a convenient coat peg to hang life's ilks on. That's true. Do you know what I mean?
It goes on. That's what I wanted to get at. That's what I was trying to get at. Really, there's dickheads everywhere. Unfortunately,
it
doesn't matter where you are. There's dickheads everywhere. There always will be. And I think the club do their best to get rid of the dickheads. So
that's it. Let's move forward. We've done a little bit. Now we move forward.
Right, just quickly.
So are you on the right or are you on the left? We're playing Reading away.
Good question.
I always love what you said. You made a good point, Joe. I always knew where really wanted to get it. He was going to cut inside. He was going to hit a 60-yard diag absolutely into my feet. And then it was a case of trying to pick out Sads or Chopper. And like early in my career, I was a terrible crosser of the ball. I was awful. I think that's what used to piss the fans off, because I was a decent dribbler. I'd beat 4 players on a run and then kick it off the pitch. Or I'd beat 3 players with a bit of skill and then kick it straight into the first man. And then the fans would lose their shit. And I got it, but I wasn't trying to. It just took me a long time to learn how to cross. I'd been a forward my whole youth career, and then suddenly I'm chucked out in the wing, and I've never crossed the ball before. You know, that's a bit of an overstatement.
I think the thing is with you is that we knew that you had something about you, and you could do it. But the trouble was that it wasn't consistent all the time. So some games we didn't know which Paul Ifill we were getting. But if you were on the money, you were on the money. But if you're having,
I think, and I coach now, so I talk about this all the time. And I think with wingers, that's the difference between your elite wingers and guys who went as far as I did. I think I was as good as anybody on my day in the Premier League at times, right? Yeah. But there were times when I looked like I should be in the park playing with the kids because I was awful. So my consistency was never where it needed to be. You look at the top boys. No, but you look at the top level, they don't go below a 7. They're 7 to 10 all the time. I was 6'4", 2, 10, 2, 8.
You made a very good point there, Paul. You were converted to a winger. You're a striker. So as a youngster growing up, you knew how to hit the back of the net. You knew your positioning, how you to play that game. So then, play as a right winger quite late on. But you must be 17, 18 at the time when you kind of moved into that position. You're always trying to learn a new role again, aren't you? It's like sticking Joe on the left wing. So he's got to learn to be a winger and use his left foot. So, I mean,
it's funny you say that.
I tried to play in defence, didn't he? So
it was different. It was different. I think Mark McGee was. We'll probably talk about managers in a minute, but Mark McGee was unbelievable for me. That year that I scored that hat trick, I was shit all year, and I remember a week before the game, I went in to see Mark, and I said, and I was almost in tears. I said, "Look, why do you keep playing me? I don't understand it. I've been shit for you week in, week out." And he said, and Joe will tell you this, I was a decent trainer, and he said, "Look, every single day in training, you're pulling people to pieces. You're doing this, you're doing that. It will translate. It's a confidence thing, blah, blah, blah." And I always remember coming in after that hat trick, and he just gave me a big hug, and he spoke to the boys and said, "That's what we've been fucking waiting for." Brilliant. It was always in him. And when he got sacked, I was devastated. And I thought, fuck, I kind of lost my mentor here. He was so influential in my career. But going back, we've gone off tangent. But really on the other side, honourable mention for Christoph, who I thought was an unbelievable footballer. Just probably came at a time when me and Reedy were probably playing the best that we played in our careers at that point. The other one I did like coming through, probably never did as well as he could have done, is Peter Sweeney. Fantastic footballer, unbelievable left foot
as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he liked the off-pitch stuff probably a little bit more than some of us. I had a few nights out with him and can attest to that. But he was a great lad, and a very good footballer. So he's probably the other honourable mention from that side.
Excellent, brilliant. So it's an easy one, that one, Mickey. So we've both locked in. So Paul Ifill, Stephen Reid on each side of the flank. And we'll start with Paul now. We're going to go for 2 centre mids. So again, any honourable mentions before you mention your 2?
Honourable mentions to, we've said it. We've called a few of them out already, like Ricky Newman, Birchie. Dennis Wise, you're giving an honourable mention to Dennis Wise, who's got England caps. That's ridiculous, really. That tells you how good.
Was Bobby Barry playing when you were playing, Paul?
Yeah, he can get an honourable mention for a few things.
Yeah, not on the football pitch, though, eh?
He was all right. I'll tell you. Remember the Stoke game, Joe? Do you remember what he said in the Stoke game when Peter Thorne scored? I'll always remember that line. We were sat on the bus. Peter Thorne had just ripped us to pieces, and Bowery was blaming the back four. And he went, "Fucking hell, what do you expect? Peter Thorne just bowled through there like the Lord Mayor of Stoke." I always remember it. It was an absolute peach of a line. I was like, Jesus. Brilliant. And it was. He did just bowl through like the Lord Mayor of Stoke and tuck it away. But Bowery's another one. I think this picks itself. Livers and Timmy. Timmy wouldn't have been what Timmy was without Livers.
Yeah.
Livers did all the donkey work, got none of the praise really. But
always missed from 25 yards when he thought, "Fuck it, I'm going to have a shot this time." Always missed. Always missed.
always in the stand, and then you'd look at him, and he'd know as well. But he'd know, he'd be like, stupid.
I'm going to have 1 out of 10, but I'm going to have a go.
But I remember another game. I think it might have been Stoke as well, Joe, at home. He made 3 slide tackles in the space of 6 seconds on 3 different players, whilst Timmy was just watching on, and and you were like, "There's no way we're losing this game." Like, there's no way.
The crowd just went up. Yeah, that was like what we needed, wasn't it? We just went to a different level.
He used to do these sort of scissor tackles, didn't he?
No, that's what we used to call it. The scissors. He used to just go past it. You couldn't do it. You couldn't do it today. He'd get sent off left, right, and centre. But he had the timing absolutely on point. What a player! He was an absolute warrior. And then obviously
and had proper injuries too. Like, his knee was never right. Like,
he struggled. That's why he retired so early in the end. But he just battled, give us everything he had.
He's got a degenerative condition in his knee.
He was a man of few words. Like, I remember sort of seeing him in the lounge. He was a very, very quiet sort of guy. He didn't sort of say much. I remember sort of speaking to him one game after game. So he had a really good game, Livers. Well done, and talked about the game. And all he said to me was, "It's the only one I know how to play." As in, like, the tackles. It's the only one I know how to play. He knew his limitations almost. Like, he knew what he was about.
He was class. He was class, and that's why Timmy did so well, and obviously Timmy's the other one. I'll just go back to Livers quickly. Yeah. So in the FA Cup final, with about 2 minutes to go, me and Roy Keane going for a tackle, right? I tell people that it was a 50-50. It was more like a maybe 80-20 in my favour, and I shit myself, and it ended up being a 50-50 because
you backed out a bit.
Yeah. So we both got injured, and we were both off on the side of the pitch getting treatment.
That. Yeah.
And I thought, fuck it, this is my opportunity. So I said, Roy, I know this is not the end of the fucking game. I thought you'd just tell me to fuck off. And he went, can I have your shirt? And he said, yeah, meet me in the tunnel. I'll give you a shirt. So I'm like, fucking happy days. So game finishes. They do all their bits and pieces. They're on the pitch forever, and I walk down the tunnel thinking, I've missed my chance. I haven't got, I hadn't got a shirt at that point. I'm thinking, shit, I'm not going to get a shirt. All the boys fucking waving shirts around.
Yeah.
Roy Keane stood in the tunnel. Takes his shirt off, right? But now I'm in a spot because I'm thinking, there's no way Roy Keane wants my shirt. But I kind of have to offer it because otherwise I look like a dick. So I sort of go like that. He goes, nah, you're all right. and he hands me his shirt, right? So we go back in the changing rooms. So all the boys are talking about the fucking shirts they've got, and there was a big uproar because Mark McCammon had nicked Ronaldo's shirt after Ronaldo had killed Robbie Ryan's career, and McCammon had nicked the shirt. So they were talking about that. And I looked at, and I was sat next to Livers, and Livers had a face on. And I thought, like, Livers was never a good loser, but I thought we'd kind of gone into it expecting we weren't going to get much out of this game. I said, "What's up with you?" He said, I spoke to Roy Keane at half time, and he said that he'd give me a shirt, but fucking somebody's nicked it. So I'm there with one hand behind my back. I'm going, that's terrible, mate. Well, that's really bad news. But he's probably the only person in the team that I actually felt so guilty. I went, I said, I've got it, mate. I said, did you get one? He said, yeah, I've got one. I said, I'll tell you what we do then. Because the reason everybody wanted Keane's for that one, it was his fourth FA Cup. And at the time, that was a record. I think Ashley Cole beat it, blah, blah, blah. So everybody wanted it. So we tossed the coin. And at home, so I've obviously still got my Ifill shirt. But now at home in my mum's house, it says Ifill Butt.
No.
Nicky Butt. I tossed the coin and got Nicky Butt, yeah.
Oh. Can't believe that you would lose the toss of a coin.
Fuck, hey.
I feel butt.
Lesson of a lifetime there, eh? I feel butt, yeah.
I feel butt.
I feel keen, it should have said, but there you go. So,
love that. That's very, very good of you. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure he's
Look at him. Look how happy he is with it.
We'll clip this bit, send it and post it to Roy Keane and see if it sends you another shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant stories there, Paul, as well. So, Joe, let's go to yourself, mate. So we've got looking for 2 centre mids. Any honourable mentions first?
Yeah, I've got an honourable mention, but again, it's just an honourable mention for me and Ife, really. He didn't really play. I don't even know if he played in the first. I'm sure he might have come on. But Leke Adunsi had massive ability. Again, kind of probably had some demons Ife in there somewhere. Was on fire, unplayable some days, and then others just didn't have the resilience to be able to play at a level. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes that's what those talented players can't find is if I'm not 9 out of 10, I'm fucking 3.
Yeah.
And you, like I was saying earlier about the top players always being 7s. And I think Lake and a few other boys that have come through and not quite gone on to have big careers definitely had ability. And when Lake played in front of you in the youth team or in the resis, you could give him the ball at any time and he wouldn't lose it. He was fucking so strong.
Yeah, tough,
and you know he could join in. He could, you know, he was a terrific player. But as I say, I don't know how many games he played. But I think we've done the honourables. We've done Wisey. We've done Numo, Birch definitely. You know, Birch played a big part in our team. Whether it was at right back, left midfield. I remember him having to play left mid once, didn't he?
Yeah.
But he would do it, you know. And I know he alienates people. And, you know, that's his personality, but he was definitely a big part of what we did. And again, you know, like Christoph maybe didn't play as much because of the quality we had in other positions. So it was bad timing for him. But, I think that's pretty much covered midfield.
Brilliant. So you're going for, what are you going for the same?
I'm going Timmy and Livers. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Timmy and Livers. Okay. Yeah.
We'll lock that in. Brilliant.
That's the same midfield then, isn't it? We've both got the same midfield.
Yeah,
fours.
right across the 4. And to be fair, I mean, that would probably have been my 4. I'm sure Mickey would agree as well. So it's a bit of a no-brainer, that one. So that's our midfield locked in. We're going to move to our forwards. Now, how do you want to do this, Mickey? Do you want to pick one each or do you want to go with
No, I think because Joe's going to go playing a little bit, I think we need to go 2 and 2, to be fair. Otherwise,
thank you, Mickey.
Otherwise, we're gonna go on to another half hour before we get to the final ones, and Joe will be out the door running to football. So we go 2-2. We go you first, Joe.
Yeah, I think so because I don't know much about being a centre forward. However, I now play centre forward, like you said earlier, Joe. I was saving this. I play centre forward now because my mate over here was trying to convince me to play for 2 years, and it was over 35s. You're not allowed to slide tackle. You're not allowed to tackle from behind. So I'm like, fuck off, it's Mickey Mouse. I ain't fucking.
That's how I made a living. What were we talking about?
And what happened was my weight, we're stones and pounds, right? So I was always like 14 stone when I was playing over there, 13, 10, 11, 14 stone. And then over here, it's all kilograms. And over those couple of years, I was just getting on the scales every now and again, and it was like 105. 108, 110, 115.
You're thinking that's what, 14 and a half, 15?
Yeah, I'm going, I wonder what that is. Anyway, I converted it and I was fucking 18 and a half stone.
No,
and I was
really?
like, oh my fucking God,
so
I'm enjoying myself far too much.
Yeah.
So I kind of went, right, I've got to get into it. It's the only thing I like doing. I'm sure you guys are exactly the same. I don't really like going to the gym. I don't like going for a run. My body doesn't, I can't run in a straight line. My body just breaks down because I'm not used to it. Tried swimming. It's all shit. The only thing my body likes doing is football.
Chasing a football.
So, yeah, exactly. So I got into it and I absolutely love it. It's my mates just sent a message there about a team that have just been let back into our division because the new season starts tonight, and they're a Croatian team. They're called Adriatic. And like it goes back a long way, doesn't it? Croatia and England and the history in semi-finals and cups, and it's what we love, lads, isn't it? It's just and the good thing is I'll run around. I've got my watch on. I'll run about 5 or 6K, and I don't have to do anything for 5 days. So I feel really good.
That's why I do football on a Thursday. That's exactly why I do football on a Thursday, mate. I run 2 or 3 mile on a Thursday on the pitch, mate, and you feel good. You have a beer afterwards, and you feel okay. I can have a beer, and
don't do anything until next Thursday.
You don't train then, do you, Joe? You don't train.
No. I do. Anyway, no, I don't. No,
training's for wimps, Joe.
We've done that. We've done that for years. But no, I reckon. I'll do the strikers because.
Come on in.
Because I reckon I obviously will finish it off, but I've got honourable mentions. Yeah. But I think, as I say, that the front 2 that we finish with will be pretty clear. I want to honourable mention Paul Moody and Paul Shaw. Yeah. I kind of feel like those two. Yeah, and again, I know we kind of say it a lot. It might have been the wages they were on. Who knows? We were just kids. But again, Shawsey wasn't held in the highest esteem, but yet to me seemed to be a model pro. He always came to training. He was never hungover. He worked hard. He could finish. He did his job. And, whenever he did play, you saw a different Shorey, didn't you? Like he was aggressive. He was an angry Shorey, and we never really saw that too much in training. But he could definitely play, and he's obviously a very good-looking lad, because quite a few of my online photos I'm confused with Paul Shaw. So he's clearly a good-looking lad.
I thought that's why you sported the skinhead, Joe. I thought you're copying Paul Shaw, weren't you?
Well, that too, because if I get confused with somebody who played for Arsenal, I would have taken that as well.
That's right.
And Big Moods was exactly that. He was Big Moods. There was plenty of people brought in to try and fill Sads' void, and I'm sure Ifill will fill you in on those guys. But
great, weren't he, Moods?
Well, do you know what? My favourite memory is in the morning. We had these vertical radiators in the training ground, in the canteen. And I'd go and get my breakfast, and I'd come and sit down because I was fucking always injured. So I was in there early before everyone else. And I'd just sit down and I'd hear, "Hello, big fella." And I was, "Fucking hell, what's going on here?" And he's standing at the back of the room with his back on the radiator. I'm like, "What are you doing, Moods?" He went, "I've got to warm up, mate. I've got to warm up." Because I think he was still living in Portsmouth. I think he was driving up from Portsmouth to training every day. And so obviously the big unit unfolding out of the car, he would stand with his back. And I know how that feels now, because I'll be doing that in a minute before I play. But he could play too. And I remember playing against him. And again, he could shift. Although it didn't look like he could, he had a bit of everything, Moods. And did he get a hat trick one day, or more? Did he score 4 one day when we played?
He scored 4 one day. He scored 2 in his last ever game, and would have got a hat trick, but Chopper took the pen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he regrets that. Yeah. I've done an interview with him, and he was still laying. That should have been mine. So
yeah. So
because I think when Moody was playing, Harris was often playing with Moody, or sometimes with Sadlier. They kind of used to swap around a little bit.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
But both guys have both gave Harris the license to kind of run around, didn't they? Because they kind of did with all the high balls, like the target men, if you like, and allowed kind of Neil to sort of like just run around and run the channels.
Absolutely. He was so good, but he was also, Chopper was so good at running across the line. Like you didn't know where the fucker was. And what Moods and Sads could do was get hold of it and get it out to Ifill or Reedy or Christoph or whoever. That's what they would kind of do. They wouldn't necessarily directly go to Chopper.
No.
Normally it would go from them out wide. But then again, what would happen is after the 8th time, the centre half would drop off and go, "Fuck it, he's going to go wide." Yeah. And then he'd turn around and give it to Chopper's feet. And so, they should get the credit. They deserve those two, because they created a lot of what Chopper finished off. And obviously you need that player. And I think, honourable mentions again a little bit later on, but just from the sideline, me watching and picking up proper pros, real good professionals in Dion Dublin, Danny Dicchio and Steve Claridge.
Great
totally different players, but would come into and by that point, without overusing a fucking word, we were transitioning. There's no doubt that that was happening at the club, and we were moving into a totally different regime. But again, those guys seamlessly came in, did their jobs to the best of their ability, and had some massive moments for the club. So, but the top two for me by a mile is Sads and Chopper.
Brilliant. Okay, I feel yours.
I like all of what Joe said. Really, like Moods was class, and probably it'd be interesting to find out from Sads. But I would imagine Sads learned a lot from Moods about the way he moved, the way he dealt with defenders, and like Joe said, Moods could shift, and Sads was quite quick as well for a big fella. Like they weren't just target men, and I think that's what I was saying with Sads with his injury. I think you'd have seen that if he'd have gone to a Premier League club at the right time and got that extra bit of coaching, I think he could have been the complete forward. And he was on his way to doing that. So
I think I've got to say there, you're definitely right. Moods taught Sads to get older defenders, didn't he? Yeah. I think Sads was too nice in the early days, wasn't he? He was like, I'll control it, and then certain centre halves to just come through him. And I think Moods taught him how to get older centre halves and pin them. And then the ball drops into your feet. Claridge was good at that too, I'm sure. Did Claridge and Sads play together, Ives? I don't know.
Claridge and Sads did a bit, for sure. Yeah. And for a smaller guy, Claridge was a bit of a target man. He used to get out. He was smart. He'd nick fouls. He was so smart at nicking fouls and taking free kicks quickly, and just the little nuances in the game that an experienced pro can feed down. So he was great at that. So he's another honourable mention. For me, probably one of the best players I ever played with was Dion. Like Dion could do things that we'd never seen. His touches were ridiculous. The way he volleyed the ball I remember the first time we did a bit of crossing and finishing, and I hit this average crossing, and he did like a scissor Di Canio volley. It was a terrible cross, but he made it look unbelievable. It just roared off, and he hit it so hard it would have knocked the building down. It was ridiculous, and I just thought, holy shit! I don't even know people can kick like that. You know, I was at early 20s, and yeah, I was so blown away by how good he was, how professional he was as well.
He seemed like a lovely guy. He's like a mentor as well.
What a guy! What a guy! Unbelievable. Like he could have been big time, but he came in. He just helped out wherever he could help out, whether it was on or off the pitch. He just helped out. Loads of times, he was mentoring me or us without you even realizing it. You'd just be sat there, and he'd be telling stories, and you'd be thinking, "Oh, it's a cracking story," but there was always a hidden meaning. He was trying to get something across without being that guy. Oh, I'm going to tell you, this is what you've got to do. It was like you can work. He knew we were smart enough to work it out ourselves, and you go away and go, "Fuck, that was a banger story." But there was always something in there that you'd take away, a bit like Daichi in terms of that. So Dion class, Dicchio, Danny Dicchio, another one. What a signing he was, legendary guy as well. But yeah, look, Sads and Chopper complemented each other so well, and again, both of them, unfortunately, with Chopper with the cancer, and then Sads with his injury, both careers cut short. And for me, both would have played many games in the Premier League, more than capable. So a little bit sad, but what Chopper did, great story for sort of redemption story to come back again, break Teddy's record, and that shows you how bloody resilient he was. You know,
amazing. We had a show recently, didn't we, Mickey? Where we were talking about legends, picking legends of Millwall, and it's very hard, kind of like, you know, understand what is the word legend, what does it actually mean, how do you define a legend or a Millwall legend? And when you kind of really kind of like get down deep into it, it's very hard to actually pick a real legends, because, you know, there's some of you that have been there a long time and done a lot for the club, but I think without question, you know, you're looking at Kitchener, you know, before my time, but again, one refers to him as a legend, and you rightly so, the amount of games he's played for us, Harry Cripps, I guess, but Neil Harris, you know, Chopper, is someone who you would say 100%, you know, for what he's done for Millwall, both as a player and as a manager, definitely deserves that kind of that title and that honour, really, isn't he? You know,
I think anybody, no matter what your record, I think if you've played and coached at a club, like for me, Rhino as well. Like Rhino did an amazing job, and you've got to also remember, Rhino probably doesn't get the credit he deserves for chucking us all in.
That's right.
He chucked all of us in. He started something, and then McGee probably came and took it over. McGee could not believe his luck, and I've spoken to him since about this. He said, I came to watch a game. He came to watch the game. We won 5-0, and he was like, how the hell have I got this job? Why did they even need me? No, he did. He couldn't believe his luck. So, like, Rhino and Macca had started that. Yeah. So for me, Rhino,
they were
in that combo.
They were stitched up by the club, to be fair, weren't they? I mean, I don't think the club. I think at the time, in that early 2000 period and stuff, I think the club would they didn't really respect the players what were there. You know, certain players, you know, I've spoken to Cherno, I've spoken to Marvin Williams and people like that around, you know, that sort of era who say that the club just didn't have their best interests at heart. They didn't necessarily look after them. And I think there was that period of time there where I know obviously some of the backstories there as well, but which may be off air, but it was at a time where I think the club was more focused on trying to just keep themselves together rather than, you know, worrying about players. And if you had to sell a player to make some money to keep the club afloat, then that's the way it went on.
Yeah, I think I've touched on it earlier about player welfare. I think, you know, if Rhino had his time again and he had somebody around him that could help him with conversations, managing up. I'm done saying it because I think you know what I mean. I think if I'm sure any conversation Rhino had with any authority wouldn't go the way he would want it to go necessarily. and I still talk to him now. He's still over here, although he's just been to Sri Lanka and done a little tournament with their under-23s, which was interesting for him. Okay. But yeah, I totally agree. Like that we never. It was so strange, wasn't it? When we come off at Brentford, did we lose 2-1 or was it 1-1?
No,
was it half time? It was half time. It was half time.
And they were getting spat at.
Yeah, it was weird, and I think that was just the fans. You know what our fans are like, just panicking that we were going to blow this opportunity when I think we had 2 or 3 games in hand, and As I say, I think anyone goes back, or any people of their salt know that Rhino and Macca, were put in a position potentially to play us. They could have played the older pros, the Carl Wirtz, the Damien Webbers, those guys, the Paul Allens, the Brownies, but they didn't. Their decision was to go with obviously the other boys more than me, but it is a shame that they didn't get the credit really that they deserved. And Mark McGee's been really honest there, and that's why we like him so much, because he was able to finish the job that they started for us.
Yeah.
No, that's it.
So, just
managers,
Mickey. Sorry, before we do that, no one mentioned Kevin Davies on that one. What was he like?
Yeah, big Kev. Kev was good, actually.
Is it true that he used to turn up in his Ferrari in the car park?
No,
that's waffle. That's waffle.
I heard that rumour. I wasn't sure whether that's right or not.
Kev was another one down to
really good.
We had
Noel Whelan on the other hand. He might have turned up in somebody else's Ferrari.
Hey, do you remember Joe Tessam?
Yeah, from Southampton. He was a weirdo, wasn't he?
Super weird.
Yeah.
I'm not
writing him down. I'm not writing.
I've got a story about him, but I can't tell it on here. I'll tell you after. But.
Okay.
Right, managers, because it's 7:35.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, I've been going first a lot, so if you go first for this one.
All right. Okay. Quickly, honourable mention to Billy Bonds. Gave me my first pro. Yeah, there's a story there, but we probably haven't got time for that. But yeah.
Yeah, we have.
Have we? All right.
Joe says we have.
I can do a quick one. Basically,
go on.
Go on. You tell him. You do it.
Right. So you have signing day at the club, right? And signing day, you're in the car park and you go up the stairs to the gaffer's office. You knock on the door. You go in. He tells you you've been signed or you haven't been signed, right? So on signing day, I think Phil Smith had been up, the goalkeeper. He'd been signed, right? Then a couple of the other boys in the youth team had gone up, come down in tears. You never see him again. Timmy goes up, gets signed, 2-year, 3-year deal, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's my turn. I go up, knock on the door, gaffer, come in, son, sit down. So I sit down. I'm the top scorer in the reserves, top scorer in the youth team. So I'm thinking, deal's done, no question here. He goes, how do you think you've done? I've gone, well, and he goes, I'm going to stop you there. I think you're a lazy little cunt. And I went, oh. bear in mind, Billy Bonds is the scariest man I've ever met up to this point. So now I'm like sitting in my chair thinking, oh my God, he's going to release me. He's going to release me. He said, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to give you a month. No. And in that month, you're going to go away and we're going to see if you can actually step up to the next level. I'm like, fuck. So we played that weekend and we played against Charlton. And I don't know if Joe would have been playing in that one. Anyway, Jermaine Defoe was at Charlton at the time and everybody was talking about Jermaine Defoe this and Jermaine Defoe that. We won 3-0. I scored a hat-trick. We played.
I clearly was playing then, wasn't I?
You probably kept a clean sheet, wasn't I? So anyway, in the midweek, we played Gillingham in a reserve game and there was a guy on trial called Pedro Jordal. And we won 8-0. Pedro scored 4 and I scored 4. And I go back into training the next day because I think we used to play reserve games in midweek, didn't we? So it was like I went back in on like a Thursday. Gritty comes to see me with the match ball. There you go. He got all the boys to sign it. He said, the gaffer wants to see you upstairs. So back up the stairs to see the gaffer, knock on the door, sit down, son. He said, had a good week, didn't you? I said, yeah, not too bad, gaffer. He says, right, we're gonna give you a year's deal. So I'm fucking buzzing for pro deal, can't believe it. So he puts the contract in front of me, right? I've never seen a contract in my life. So I've opened it up. I'm fanning through it like I know what I'm looking for. Yeah, looks good enough to me. So he goes, right, sign that. And I'm like, oh, what am I on? So I'm trying to look again. And he tells me what I'm on, right? I'm on 150, I think it was £150 a week. So I was in more money than I'm on. I was on 47.50. Yeah? So I sign it, walk out. Bear in mind there was no phones in this day. So I walk to the phone box, ring me old dear, ring me mum. Mum, I've cracked it. I'm a pro. Like she's crying on the phone. Unbelievable, buzzing. She goes, what did you get? I said £150. She's like, oh, 3 times your money. I said, yeah, unbelievable. She went, where are you staying? And I went, what do you mean? She said, well, you've been staying in digs. Where are you staying now? And I said, oh shit, I didn't think to ask that. She went, what about your expenses? Because I used to pay for my expenses to get back and forth on the train if I wanted to go home. I said, fuck, I didn't ask that either. She's like, you're a fucking idiot. You've just gone in there and signed for less money than you were on as a YTS. So get off the phone, run back to the fucking training ground, back up the stairs, Gaffer, what's up, son? I said, Gaffer, I've just spoke to my mum and looked at my contract. I'm on less money now than I was when I walked in here. He goes, oh, that's football, son. Right? So, sorry, this is a bit of a long one. But so I go back to my digs. My digs at the time, Joe might not remember this. I was staying with Rita, who used to be the canteen lady. Rita had been given the nod that I was going to sign pro that day. So I get home, there's banners up, there's balloons. She's done done this whole meal up. I was like, oh, Rita, I'm really sorry. I feel sick. I went up to my bedroom. I was in bits. Snuck out the back door, went and got a packet of Jaffa cakes. So Jaffa cakes was my dinner on the day I signed pro. Come back in the next morning. Gritty saw me again. Go up again. Gaffer wants to see us. I walked back in. Told the gaffer what was going on. He said, look, we've had a look at it. We're gonna actually honour what we should do. We're gonna give you some digs. We're gonna give you some expenses, but let that be a lesson to you. Next time you come in to see me, bring your agent.
Wow,
that was Billy Bonds. So Billy Bonds is my honourable mention for giving me my first pro in a roundabout way. Love that. Rhino and Macca for giving a lot of belief into us young fellas and give us the chance. But Mark McGee, for me, had such a big influence on my career. Wisey's another one. Wisey was class, but he kind of came after McGee had kind of moulded me into the player I was. I nearly signed for Wisey later on. He tried to get me at Leeds actually after Sheffield. But yeah, so that's my story.
Great choice there.
And the thing with my pro that goes on the back of that ice, I don't know if you remember, but Mick Flanagan made us come in and paint the changing room.
Yes, I do.
And I don't know whether you had your pro by then or not.
I had it. You hadn't got it yet, I don't think.
No, exactly. Right. So I went up the stairs and I signed for one. It was 150, and then I got 175. So I got 150. I'm the same as Ives, like knocking on the door, petrified of this fucking giant human that is Billy Bonds. And I just did the same. Brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm really pleased. And I've gone back downstairs. And Ives has gone, what'd you get? What'd you get? I said, 150. Of course. Like, we were good mates. I never played in Ifill's position, so we got on really well.
Yeah.
So I went. He went, you fucking idiot! Why didn't you do this? I said, I don't know. How was I supposed to know? He went, go back up. Go on, go back up.
I've given the big one. What you should be doing. After he's been screwed.
Absolutely. That's how it goes. So then
I'm trying to pass on the knowledge that I'd learned.
Yeah, exactly.
Not before I go up. And then he goes, right, you have to go up there and tell him you need digs money. I went, right, brilliant. That's what I'll do. I'll go up there. So I've gone up there and said, Gaffer, I'm really sorry, but I forgot my digs. He went, you live in Bromley now, fuck off. And he actually, the one thing was, he said, I'll give you 175 for trying. Now you live in Bromley, so fuck off. All right, Gaffer, I'll take it. And that was it. I was back down the stairs.
Love that.
So,
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm totally with you.
And your mentions there, sorry, Joe.
Yeah, mate, I'm exactly the same as Ife in all of those. You know, thanks to Billy, Rhino, Macca, obviously. You know, potentially we wouldn't have been pros if it wasn't for the way they saw it. And the one I mentioned at the start that I would like to pick as my manager if I got the choice is Steve Gritt, because Gritty was just immense behind the scenes with Rhino and Macca, with McGee. He was totally on a different level in terms of bonding a reserve unit with a first team. He's got this saying that has stuck with me for life, which is dress smart, play smart. You know, we were reserve team players. We were 18. I was wearing my dad's suits and ties that were fucking miles too big for me, but he made us wear suits and everyone loved him. The guy was just brilliant and picked us up when we were down. You know, Rhino and Macca, they weren't cuddly guys. They weren't putting their arm around you. No. And not that we need that many cuddles, but everyone likes one every now and again. Yeah. And Gritty was just instrumental in so many of our early days. I like using the word career, but you know, non-league career maybe. But Gritty for me was just special, really, really special. And
so we'll just put Gritty and McGee down then, shall we?
Yeah, if that's allowed.
It's fine, Bo. Yeah, listen.
I think
you make whatever rules you want. As long as he's got an A-class license, then he can be wherever you want.
He can do what he wants. The other ones to quickly mention then, we've done it quickly, but Mick Flanagan and Callie in the youth team, both decent, put us on the right path. And then if you're going coaches, you can't forget the two Rays. Jesus,
no, absolutely not.
Wilkins and Ray Harford.
Yeah.
like
it's when you say that,
so far ahead of their time.
I've heard a lot of ex-players mention these guys, and Gritty, and Gritty probably more so quite often from every player from your era have all mentioned Gritty as well. But you're right, Ray Harford and Wilkins as well, brilliant people, weren't they, for you?
Amazing guy.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Ray Harford for my first cruise ship. He knew we blame Robbie. Remember, Robbie broke my leg. He also put the ball in the channel in training when I tried to turn to chase Steve Claridge. What a stupid idea that was. And Ray came straight over to me, sat me down, just rubbed my knee. And it was like my dad. It was like my dad just rubbing my knee, just said, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And I actually got up and walked. After a few minutes, I walked into the changing room because I felt fine. But obviously, I think he knew from the way that I twisted that it was a cruise ship.
Yeah.
But and then Ray, my memory of Ray was the PFA do in 2004 when we got to the FA Cup final and I was back playing. And we went to the PFA do, and it was like, by no means are you late for training the next day or whatever. And I stayed at Robbie's that night. It's always Robbie, isn't it? It is always Robbie. I stayed at Robbie's, and I think Robbie must have been injured because I think he left first, and he locked the fucking door behind him, so I couldn't get out. It was like the first issue of double glazed windows and doors. I literally could not get out. My battery's gone flat. I had a Nokia fucking 3210 probably. And I just thought, there's nothing I can do. I've just got to go back to bed. So I missed training. And I could not leave the house until Robbie came home. And Ray fined me a week's wages. I was still allowed to play in the reserve game against Fulham that week. But my biggest punishment was I wasn't allowed to travel with the team to Cardiff. I had to stay in Bristol with all the fans, which was all right. But I wanted to travel with a team and I got banned. So, but I made it to St David's Bay for the after party, so that made up.
So yeah.
You beat that on the two Rays, I bet you can't.
I got another one, but I can't tell it on there.
No, you definitely can't say that one on there. That involves southern Spain, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
We'll get that in a minute. But
let's do on another show, I think.
That'll be the Millwall podcast after dark.
After dark.
There we go. We've already got the job title there. So yeah. So Joe, you running off? Are you all right for a sec? Or
I have, mate. I'm just literally want to check what time I said I'd pick Grant.
Do you still do warm-ups, Joe?
No, mate. No.
All right, so you've got plenty of time.
Just a massage gun. No, I've actually I've got another 5 minutes. We'll go with that. I've got 5.
Okay.
I only want the reason. Obviously, we've got you two. So Joe, we'll do that, and then Paul, when Joe runs off in a minute, we'll end this. When Joe runs off, then I'll ask you about the Darren Ward boxing incident.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So
very,
Joe,
very quickly. Sorry,
Zampa, you finish up with the teams. Read the teams.
Sorry, yeah. Okay, very, very quick. Before we do that, can I just check with you? What's your best Millwall game you played in? Just finish off, you two. We'll start with Joe first.
Oh shit!
You pick one game played for Millwall.
Yeah.
What was your favourite game ever?
Oh, it's so close. There's 3 games. Obviously Wembley. Then there's Walsall, and then there's my debut. And I kind of think I've probably got to go with my debut. Just like, it's like you don't know. I didn't know I was playing, I don't think, until the day before. And it was Carla Saba and Bob Taylor, wasn't it?
Wow.
And it was a semi-final of the regional cup. So it wasn't important, but it was. That's what everyone said. It's not really important, but it is.
It is.
So it's like, oh, fucking hell. And just loved the game. Just was totally in the zone, and everything just went, well, not everything because we went to extra time, but, again, photos live long in your lifetime. And that photo of me and Sads at the end of that game was just amazing. So I've probably got to go with my debut.
Brilliant. Excellent. Paul, how about yourself?
I've probably got 3 as well. Obviously the hat-trick game, because everybody talks about that. But I didn't play very well, so it's like, it's a bit of a weird one. They're probably the FA Cup semi, which I came off early, but fuck that. Yeah, that was unbelievable. Like the final was good, but the semi was just another level. Jesus Christ! But I'll have to go with same with Joe. Like your debut. Before that, you don't know what you're doing. I'd got told, I think the morning of, we were going up to Lincoln of all places. That was my debut, and you're the youngest on the coach, so you're doing the teas and the coffees for every fucker, mate. I was pretending that the bus was shaking. It was my fucking hand shaking. I was shitting myself. They chucked me on the right wing. I'd never played right wing ever, and I was playing right wing against Lincoln, and I hit the post in the game, and I remember thinking, "Oh my god!" Like I nearly scored a goal as a professional footballer. This is mad. And then you come out of the team, and you're not in the team for a bit, and then you get back in the team, and it's kind of becomes a bit more normal. But before that moment of stepping onto the pitch as a professional, you're not really a pro. Even if you've signed a pro, you haven't really cracked it. And
more
then
official,
cracking it, and then going, shit, I'm not too far away from this. I'm maybe not ready yet, but it gives you that moment of realization, and you can go, I think I can do this. And before you have that, I think you're just so unaware of what you're doing and where you are. You're just cracking on trying to get there. So I think it's that moment of realization that's the difference.
Fantastic. Cheers, guys. So very, very quickly, the teams are, again, from midfield attacks, you both agreed on it, but going from the back, we've got Tony Waller in goal for both of you. Ives, you've gone for Matty Lawrence, Joe Dolan, Sean Dyche, Robbie Ryan at left back. Joe, you've gone for Muscat right back, yourself, Nevers at centre half, Robbie Ryan at left back. So you both agreed on Robbie Ryan. Again, midfield, you've all agreed on this. Paul Ifill, Tim Cahill, Livermore, Stephen Reid. And up front, you've both gone for Sads and for Chopper. Managers, we both go for what? McGee and Grit?
Grit, yeah.
Fantastic. Right, that's all locked in, Mickey.
Well, that's it then. That is a end of this edition of Ex-Players All-Time 11. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. We have got some more being lined up, but do let us know. Joe will be doing some polls going forward regarding some of their key mentions and honourable mentions, etc., etc. But look, let's just a special thank you to both Joe Dolan and Paul Ifill for giving up your time. We don't palm you. We don't give you palms full of silver with this. But you do this for the benefit of obviously being a Millwall fan show and obviously showing a bit of respect back to us lot. So we appreciate that. We do know it's busy times. You both got families. Joe, you're running off now to play veterans football. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you again for having me on. But also, it's likely that we're going to come back in September for a little holiday. So I will definitely be down the Den. I already checked the fixtures. I can't remember, but I'll definitely be down there. So can't wait to get back and see everyone.
We'll get you on a show face to face. We're going to the pub after a game. If you're going to a game, maybe we'll join you afterwards in a pub and we can do a post-match preview if you want. You can join us and we'll talk about the game. Be good to get a professional point of view from it.
I don't know what you mean about me going to the pub. I don't know why you think that might be where I might go after.
or a professional view.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be nice. Do you know what I mean? So,
I'm off to the game. See you, boys.
No
Thank
worries.
you very much.
Bye.